All righty. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab episode number 129. WPblab is made possible this week by our sponsors, ServerPress and Vendor Fuel. ServerPress, makers of desktop server, they make local WordPress development easy. Go check them out over at serverpress.com. So this show is not only recorded as a podcast, it's also streamed sometimes, depending on if things are working correctly or not on all the things. We stream over on Twitter, we stream it over on Facebook, we stream it everywhere. But if you don't want to watch the live stream, and we have people that don't watch the live stream, and we totally get it, you can also go and subscribe to our show. And you can go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's where you can learn how to subscribe to this show, as well as the other shows that happen on WP Watercooler Network. All right, Bridget, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I will tell you, before I tell you about myself, that one of our listeners just loves listening to our show while he's mowing the lawn.
Really?
Yeah. So, that's awesome. I mean, you don't get all my sarcastic facial expressions, but you still get my sarcasm. Hey, I'm Bridget Willard. I service WordPress product and services with social media marketing, copywriting, and consulting. I even train your in-house personnel on how to do social media the right way. You can find out more at bridgetwillard.com. I'm actually running a special right now because I got 2 more implants, 25% off of the Twitter Pro, Twitter Basic package for an August 1 date. I probably will, if you say this, you saw it on Blab, I'll give it to you until September. How about that? Ooh. And it's not a WordCamp, so I can pitch all the F I want. And so, gotta love WordPress community. Anyway, that's what keeps the lights on and the roof over my head. So
and the teeth still working, so you can actually have a conversation.
Yeah. In December, when this is all over, I'm gonna eat so many apples. Fuji, Gala, New York, Honey Crisp. I'm gonna eat them like a savage, without eating. Right now, I can only eat on this side. I'm like, oh, brother, it keeps your life interesting, right?
Totally. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. I do this show as well as another show called WP Watercooler. It's kind of the name of the network, I guess, as well. We do those on Friday mornings. Feel free to go take a look at that over at WPwatercooler.com. So we've been rude, as we're supposed to be, and now we're here to introduce Mr. Jason Resnick. Jason, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me. First of all, I'm excited to be here. This is a late time for me as a second-time new father. So, being awake at this time, I got my coffee in hand, but I'm a developer. I've been a WordPress developer now for about 9 years. I help established online businesses get more customers, get repeat customers, and create raving fans. And I do that through behavioral marketing, email automation, on-site personalization, and other things to build relationships between the brands and their customers.
I love that, behavioral marketing. So this episode, we're going to kind of chat about how to stand out, but just for some of our folks who maybe aren't sure exactly what that means, would you mind defining behavioral marketing?
Yeah, behavioral marketing, really, it's just what actions people are taking with you and your company and your brand. It could be as simple as shopping cart abandonment, right? That's a behavioral marketing tactic where, and everybody on Amazon knows, when you add something to your cart and God forbid you leave for 5 minutes, you get about 17 different emails, right? So it's just an action based on the behaviors that you're interacting with someone online.
That's awesome. Can you think of, I'm like one of those people that really likes definitions by the opposite. Can you think of something where, what would you not do? Is there something that's before you even start this topic, what would you definitely not do to stand out?
Definitely not do to stand out. Well, let's not talk negative, right? Like you could, because the thing is when you are running a business, you want to attract people to the business. So if you turn somebody off by just talking negative or talking badly about somebody or talking badly about clients or an experience that you had, just people are not going to be attracted to that. So that would definitely be, I mean, you might stand out. You're just not going to stand out in the way that you want to.
Right.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
I see lots of client shaming on Twitter, and I just want to say, just stop. Just
Mhm.
stop,
It's
drop,
okay
and
to
roll.
it's okay to say that you're firing a client. Like there's nothing wrong with that. That just means that that something wasn't working right. But full on shaming them, yeah, that's definitely a practice that needs to go away, because it's trying to make other people feel like, oh yeah, you should do the same thing, and then you're just building up this kind of negativity that most people just don't need in their businesses.
Well,
And the
I
thing
mean,
is, I think it's going to come back to you anyway, right? Like if you're going to
Yeah.
shame something, and like if you go 6 months later, and you interact with a lead, they're going to look you up. They're going to see what you're all about. And if they look at your profiles and they see that you're talking badly about a client, then well, that's going to come back and bite you in the butt. I mean, it's just not good for you.
I mean, there's things that we're like, oh yeah, I need your logo, and you get this scanned piece of crap, and you're like, oh, these people. Well, it's not their job to know that. It's your job to educate your clients on what they should provide to you.
Absolutely.
And I forgot all about it until I had a meeting with my niece and nephew. They're like, oh, what do I need to have a website? I go, didn't you go to school for computer science? He goes, Bridget, that was 20 years ago. I was doing stuff in Flash. Right? He doesn't even know what WordPress is. He doesn't even, I go to database. He goes, oh, okay. And then he goes, well, what do I need? And I just wrote out a list. I'm like, heck, everybody needs this. Like, you need the high resolution. What does that mean? People don't know what it means. You need a landscape. They don't, like you have to give them some education. Like but there are some people who are just like, that's their deal breaker. Well, then that's fine. You don't want to work with those clients, but I just wouldn't do it, because for me, if I saw somebody talking like that, I would not feel psychologically safe to ask them a question.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to do that because we're like, yeah, of course we're awesome, but that's what they're paying you to be. They're paying you to be awesome. Right.
They're paying you for the experience and knowledge that you have. So you should come to the table with the expectation that, and I've always said, like, I try to talk at least until I understand where their knowledge level is. I'm trying to convey what I'm doing or how I'm helping them. Like I would talk to my grandmother, who's completely oblivious to all of that stuff. And so until I understand exactly what it is, it puts everybody on a level playing field. I don't assume anything. I just try to spell it out and over communicate and do the best I possibly can to help them understand that they're in a safe place, right? I want to be able to provide them a good solution and a good experience so that, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm a developer. I'm not a designer. I'm not an artist or anything of that nature. But yet I've had people say to me, you don't talk like a developer. You kind of like, I feel like I can say something to you and I'm not going to feel dumb. And this was even before I came out and built my own business. This was a skill that I had. And, my directors and managers all said, like, you're a good technical liaison to the business because we could bring you into sales conversations and you can sit there and interpret what business is to the geeks and then interpret the geeks into the business. And so that skill set that I had, allowed me to, stand out, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, and knowing how to approach a problem and be able to explain that to your customer is super important. I think that's that right there. I on the side, I drive for Lyft, and I get a lot of people that come into my car and ask me, wow, you actually asked me how my day is. wow, you actually offered to change the radio station for me. Wow, you actually provided both Android and iPhone chargers in the back of the car. Like all these types of things. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't know if a customer's ever asked you, like, why are you a nice person? I don't understand. But it's really weird when you have somebody like hop in your car and you're providing them a service and you're going to be in their life for about 15 minutes or less. And they're just shocked that you're actually providing them with good service. So I think if you find those little things that you need to do in order to be able to actually have a good conversation with your customers, yeah, that's going to help you stand out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I talk a lot about is creating an experience, right? Like, so when you're working with a client, you know, think about what it looks like to them, right? Like, so if you, I mean, case in point, you sign up, you sign a contract with a client, they give you an initial deposit, which could be a boatload of money, and then you go dark for a day and a half before you email them. Like, that's not a good experience for them. So yes, while you may be setting all the things up and doing all the things, but then at some point in time, well, you know, put that stuff aside immediately, right? And once you get that notification that you got paid and this contract signed and all that stuff, like reach out and say, hey, even if it's just a simple email, but like reach out and say, hey, thanks for that. I'm excited to work with you. I'm ready to jump on this. This is what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. Like, explain what it's all about. But then, you know, the thing with the experience in and of itself is like, create memorable moments. There's a great book by Jay Baer, Talk Triggers. And in that book, he talks about how organizations and businesses basically through an organizational behavior create these memorable experiences, these talk triggers about the things like DoubleTree and their cookie. He talked about a burger shop, I think it's in San Francisco, where what it is when you order your lunch, dinner, whatever it is, the cashier pulls out a deck of cards. And if you pull out an ace, it's free, right? So what they do is they create these little micro experiences that then go ahead and you share this on social, you share this with your friends, you share with these things about that. It's not paid. It's not paid ads. It's not them pushing this stuff out, but it's just creating these experiences with your clients and coming up with creative ways in which to do that. Like, you know, I heard Laura Elizabeth, she shared with me on my podcast where she collects content from clients. And what she does is she sends them a gift card to a local cafe in the client's space. It could be a Starbucks, but it could be a local cafe, and says, here, coffee's on me for the next 40 minutes. Go have a cup of coffee and get me this stuff. Right. And
psychological pairing, man, that works.
Because what happens is now that person's not going to use that gift card for anything other than getting Laura her stuff. Right. And so creating these micro experiences, but it's like, hey, look, you know, I know that you don't want to do this and it kind of takes away from your day and stuff like that, but here, I can try to make it a little bit better for you. And so when you create these micro experiences and these high moments with them, it then, when there's like those bumps in the road that you encounter with projects and that happens, it smooths those bumps out, because it's like, hey, you don't think about those negative experiences, if you will, as much, because, okay, we had all these other celebrations and these micro wins and these micro moments where it was good and it wasn't a great experience. And so I always try to encourage that in any sort of way. You know, think creatively. I mean, it could be, you know, if you know your clients' kids are into sports, or, hey, you know, there's a local baseball team, minor league team playing here. Tickets are on me that night, or something of that nature, where it just, like, I'm a developer, right? Like, and that relationship, then they're not expecting that. And so it's an unexpected, nice surprise. And you be a little bit more human in that aspect. And it helps you do stand out, and they'll come back to you, even if it is just a one-off project that you're working with, but they'll also refer you because, like, hey, you know, he made my son's night because he sent me to the minor league team over here. And so, you know, it was great. So if you need work, he can help you out, you know, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
So,
I
mean,
love
the
that
word
idea.
of mouth thing, see, that's standing out. And this is stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about in the Thank You Economy, a book I've not read, but I've heard him talk about his book, where you just find these things that somebody likes and you think about them and you're showing them. And basically what you're doing is staying top of mind. I don't know why at 7:22 at night, my downstairs neighbor decides to use a speed whacker. So I hope nobody heard that, but I apologize.
I'm not hearing any of it. We're good.
I love my downstairs neighbor so much.
You should go get him a gift card and maybe even give him some baseball tickets.
Well, he did mention that he likes root beer, so maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just get him a 6-pack IBC, the really good ones.
Yep.
Lord help me, give me strength, Jesus. So anyway, that word of mouth, it really does matter, and it makes a huge difference, because there are so many people who are, first of all, developers, but secondly, and this is a personal crusade of mine, regular people don't know. The regular people don't know that developer builds websites. So like I always say, like, your homepage on your website should say you build websites. We like to say that we make custom solutions that provide the maximum amount of success for your business goals in the optimal speed. What does that even mean? And I swear to God, there was a chapter, I put it away. There was a chapter, because I've been reading Everybody Writes by Ann Handley from Marketing Profs, and holy Toledo, it's so nice to see people say stuff I've been saying forever, just from common sense, not even from a marketing education, just my life. But I'm telling you, like, the thing is, when somebody asks you, who does your hair? And you tell them, and then they go try to look them up, and it looks like crap, or your site looks like crap, then all of a sudden that word of mouth's not really being backed up. Like, can you talk a little bit about the validation aspect of having your social be a good representation of your brand, Jason Res?
Yeah, I mean, what you want,
New York, Jason.
Jason. Call me Res. Everybody.
Res. Sorry.
Res. I've been called Res since I was like 7. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, you definitely want everything, aligned, right? Like to your point, like, yeah, if I get a bad haircut, I'm not going to refer to the barber. Like, nobody's going to, they'll be like, hey, he just sliced half your hair off. Like, yeah, I wanted to go to him. But it goes back to what we were saying about negativity and things of that nature, right? Like, if you don't have that track record of success behind you, where you can prove what you're doing for them, it's not going to serve you well, right? And so, when I talk about my services page specifically, and I talk a lot about people's services page, because I'm with you on that. Like, just your headline should be, what problem are you solving for people? Like, can you just outline that? Like, if you don't want, like, the whole jargon thing, I follow Roger Edwards, and he's all about that. He's like, let's simplify marketing. Let's get rid of the techno jargon and the words that don't mean anything, right? And so, just by having on your headline, like, on my services page, it's like, does email automation have your head spin, right? Okay. Yeah. For a lot of people and a lot of my clients, it does. And so, boom. Okay. That's going to bring people down the page and learn a little bit more about what I can do and how I can help. And so, that story that you tell on your services page should be talking to the solution, talking to the person, and resonate to the person who's reading the page, but then also share with them, like, hey, I know how to do this stuff, and the testimonials and the quotes and, your case studies and portfolio pieces and all of the social proof that you have should align with all of that, right? It should make some sense, right? So, for me, it's like a lot of what I talk about or what I help my clients with is decreasing the time to first buy. Because what happens is immediately when somebody's attracted to something, just as human beings, we dive all in. Like, it's like, you get the new iPhone. Okay, I got to get a case. I got to get the Olo clip. I got to get blah, blah, blah. Like all of these other things come involved. So you want to capitalize on that euphoria because there's only a limited time window before they find that next thing. And so what I help my clients do is through email automation and on-site personalization and all these other things, decrease that time to first buy. So on my services page, you'll see some quotes that are specific to that. So now people start to understand like, oh, that's what this guy helps me with. It's not just email automation. He's helping me make sales quicker. He's helping me make more customers, those sort of things. And so you want to be able to identify that and exactly who you help and show it. Right? Share it with people and make it in a way where it's easily referable too, right? Like I specialize in ConvertKit. I also specialize in Drip too. And people know me as that because I talk about that a lot on social. I jump into conversations where people are having trouble on those platforms and things of that nature. And so, all of these things help align with what I'm ultimately trying to accomplish with my business and how I serve my clients.
That's cool. I like the fact that you're taking the time out to not only just to help people that are using the products that you're using yourself, but also that may at some point turn into something. It doesn't, you're not doing it. You're not doing it because that's what's going to happen, but you're definitely doing it because most of the time it does. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, what happens as a side effect, and this wasn't what I intended early on, was that and this was going back probably about 4 or 5-ish years, probably about 4 years. I loved the platform of Drip, right? Before it was bought by Lead Pages. And I used to write a lot of JavaScript on WordPress sites to help integrate the back end of what your subscribers were doing inside of Drip and recording there and reflecting it back on your website. And so I just helped. Like I was in Twitter streams, and their support was overwhelmed at some points in time. And so what happened was I would just answer questions or share a link or, dive into somebody's account if I had some time, just to try to help. And what wound up happening because of that is that Drip recognized that I was jumping in, helping their customers. So then they would refer me leads because their support team and their social team saw what I was doing. They would jump in and say, hey, looks like Jason's got you covered. And after a while, they were like, they're not going to do the custom work. They're not going to do the thing. They're just focused on their product. So when their customers ask for the custom stuff, they say, hey, this guy can help you out. And that was just a side effect for me. It wasn't what I intended, but it was just, I was really just trying to position myself as, I do WooCommerce and I do Drip, and that's what I want to work on. That's what I enjoy working on. And so that's what I'm going to talk about online. But these other platforms and such, they notice, like, especially the smaller platforms, they're going to notice if you're sharing and helping their customers out there. And that's another way in which you stand out. I mean, I've transformed my business just because of that, and it's been pretty cool. Build a lot of good relationships with the great folks that worked at Drip and great folks now that are working at ConvertKit and such. And, it's awesome. It's just cool. Being able to widen that net, so to speak.
Yeah.
I love that. Being helpful and polite is always, with a little bit of sarcasm, has always been my marketing model and what I usually suggest to people. So I mean, that is a good way. Go in there, be in those forums, be in the groups, be helpful, don't push, just answer questions. Again, that goes along with what Gary Vaynerchuk said 10 years ago. He just sat there and started answering questions about wine. People would ask what wine goes with chicken. He would just back before he was Vayner Media, which just when he was doing this dad's wine shop, he would just start answering questions. And I think a lot of times we have 2019 us instead of 2009 us, or like, people should just Google that. Well, like, that's worse. You know, and even when I started going to WordCamps, I heard a lot of that. Oh, people should just Google that. Oh, here's let me Google that for you link. But the thing is, when you're uneducated in a topic area, you're gonna get so many choices. I mean, just a small example. I just started liking whiskey like a year ago. And my friend Rachel Cherry likes makers. So, well, she's discerning. So I'll just pick that. And then I'm like, I'm in a rut. So I put it out to Twitter. I could not believe how many people wrote me back. What is your favorite bourbon or whiskey? I have so many answers that are saved. I really should copy them and put them in a Google Doc. I can't. And it was so cool because my favorite bartender, Pete at Hennessy's, was like, okay, try this one, try this one, try this one. He gave me all little tries, not a flight, but just little sips. I'm like, dude, Angels Envy is awesome. What happened? The owner and founder of Angels Envy wrote me back on Twitter, right? That's just some stupid thing. It has nothing to do with anything. That's not even my business. I don't want to tweet I only want to work with WordPress people. That's literally all I want to do. I'm not trying to get business. But you know what I mean? It wasn't even for me to get work or be recognized. I was just like, hey, I have so many friends on the internet. Let's find out. Everybody's got opinions. What do you like? Mm-hmm. And it's just funny, just being helpful like that. And it reminded me of people I know. Like, I have a friend in Atlanta, and it's almost his birthday. I'm like, hey, happy birthday. And then we started chatting about other stuff. And just, it had nothing to do with work. But we get so caught up now of this conversation has to have value to me. And I'm sorry, but one word comments don't have value, and one word responses don't have value, and you don't have value, and I don't feel like I'm getting value out of this. Like, I can't even believe how many times I've heard that in the last year. It's been going on, but it just seems like so intense, not just in tech, but everywhere I go. And I'm like, really? The humanity connecting to other humans, and you don't think that's valuable?
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, Bridget, we don't get a whole lot of other podcasters on the show, and Jason does a podcast, and you've been doing it for what? You're like on your 6th season, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, 6th season of Living the Feast. It just started.
I was a guest on one of those seasons.
Yes, you were. That's right.
I left out.
Well, come on the show.
He's like us. You know how you get on the show? Send us an email.
Right.
People, and we forget. And Jason said, hey, Bridget, do you have any recommendations? I'm like, well, you could be on our show. But also this one.
Right. So tell me how you started that out. And because I know that this is one of those things that at least a couple years back really made you stand out. Now, like, everybody and their dog has a podcast. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, how do you even differentiate yourself in that? So start us off with where did you start with that, and how did that come to be?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I love podcasting, and I've loved it for years. I have now a defunct podcast or archived, I guess is the proper term at this point. Sure. But it was WP Dev Table, where it was an inconsistent monthly roundtable discussion of developers talking geek talk. And that's what it was. It was just us with a Google Hangout, and we just decided to record and put it as a WordPress site, which evidently at that point that was it, right? There was no marketing, there was nothing around it. It was just put it up, and there was an RSS feed, and people listened to it. It was awesome, right? And I just liked it. I like the way that you can interact with people and just have a conversation. I'm not a blog writer. I'm not somebody that's going to write a 10,000 word blog post. It's just not my style. And so
me either. Short form's my jam, Rose.
That's right. Well, and to the point, right? And so for me, Living the Feast was really this, and I didn't want it just to be another podcast where I interviewed the same people and all that stuff. I wanted something different. And so people were asking me a lot of questions about how I was building my business and what I like. And in the WordPress space at that time, the idea of getting paid on a monthly retainer was doing maintenance, right? Like $59 a month, you do maintenance, you do the updates and that sort of thing. Well, I was charging at that time $1,500, $2,500 a month. And people were like, well, how are you doing this? And they were asking me all sorts of questions and things of that nature. And I said, well, I'm not doing maintenance. I'm doing business strategy. I'm doing custom work and, and so on and so forth. And I just kept getting asked all these questions. And so I said, well, I could make a podcast that's about the business end of building a development business. But how do I do it in a way where it's a little different? Well, each season has a broad theme. So season is about pricing. And each episode we talk with somebody, or it's a talking head where it's just me, where we deep dive on some strategy or tactic or story or journey of somebody else, right? So there's a story arc to the season where there's 10 episodes where we talk about pricing. One of the other seasons was getting clients. Another season was marketing. We talked origin stories, right? And so these seasons are basically like these mini, like you could Netflix them and get like a crash course of people that are talking about pricing strategies, right? So, we had Tom Morkis, who wrote the book on pay what you want pricing, right? So this is a unique strategy that a lot of people are interested in and a lot of businesses work with. And how can we use that strategy in our own businesses in ways that are unique, right? And so he shared some of his tactics and strategies and shared his results and those sort of things. So I try to figure out a way in which, and it does take work because I kind of have to plan out who I'm bringing onto the show and how, making sure there's not too much overlap between them and things of that nature. But, it's fun for me. Like I'd much rather produce something like that than a long form blog post, I mean, I have another show, Ask Rez, which is real short form. It's 5 or 7 minutes, where I just answer a question that somebody's asked me either via tweet, via email, and then, Slack community, anything. And just answer the question in a podcast form, and let it go. And that started out as an experiment. I was just like, hey, can I do a daily podcast for a month? And I just gave it a shot. And I was doing it on Anchor at that time. And I saw traction. Like people kept listening. More and more people were listening and listening and listening. So I'm like, well, this is kind of cool, right? Like, so maybe I'll just keep going until and it got to a point where it was like a full year. And I was just like, all right, I got to reset. And now August Ask Rez is coming out in its new format, which is a twice weekly show. But it's, I love podcasts and I try to make it in a way that it is different than, just an interview show, which God bless, I love those interview shows too, but I just wanted something different. Right. And something that would retain my interest.
Right. So that's how you are standing out for your brand in a way that's amplifying who you are. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like how you choose to stand out kind of was like, I was kind of being cheeky, but also I would say don't do something that will give a cognitive dissonance. Don't try to be cigar press if you don't like cigarette smoke. You know what I mean? Like it works for Chris and Steve because they do like cigars immensely, right? So like I could try, bourbon press or something, but I don't really know that much. I just know I like being buzzed. That's not enough, right? But you know what I mean? Like, so it's good to have these things that set you apart. Like pretty much what sets me apart is the rate at which my gravatar changes because of my hairstyle. That's
Which means that her photo on the website is always up to date because she's using Gravatar to update it.
I mean, my Gravatar is like crazy. I was talking to this friend of mine as she looked at my profile pictures on Facebook. She was like, 230? Really? I'm like, well, I changed my hair a lot. But I mean, it's just, it has to resonate with you and your why. It can't be like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's just being genuine. You have to be genuine.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people, there's a trick with this, right? So a lot of people will just be super rude and say, well, they're being authentic. No, you're being a jerk. You're authentically being a jerk. I still think that it should be table manners, like, and then like, I mean, just Gary Vaynerchuk is so good at this. I have to reference him again. Somebody said, why do you cuss so much? He goes, I just do. So he's not doing it to be shocking. That's just how he talks all the time to everyone. So that's fine for him. But if you're working at churches, you can't be dropping F-bombs all the time. That's not going to work.
True.
Or with little kids or whatever, So whatever you're doing to stand out, it has to be true to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people get that wrong. They try to be, I'm not Chris Leva, I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm not Simon Sinek, I'm not Mel Robbins, I'm not Ellen DeGeneres, I'm never going to be any of those people, right? So like we look up to people and then we go, oh, I should be like him, her, them. And without digging inside to see who we really are. What are our values? What do we want to solve? And for a long time, just for me, I thought I always wanted to help small businesses, but really I just like WordPress people. I want to get rid of that sounds terrible. I would like my small business clients to transition to another vendor. I would like to give them another vendor because I excel in WordPress and I feel like I'm not doing as well to serve them because that's not where I am all the time. You know what I mean? So like standing out just to stand out can be kind of a backfire if it doesn't resonate with your business model. So that was a really long monologue to set up this question. I'm sorry. I'm gonna blame the Norco for that and my dental implant surgery from 2 days ago. But okay, so if somebody is coming to you, Rez, and they say, I do want to stand out, but I'm not sure how. Is there a specific way you would guide them to answer so that they could answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, just take a step back and think about how your clients interact with your business and how they would see your business. And then obviously it's hard because you kind of have to do an out-of-body experience, but try to figure out how they're feeling about their interaction with you. Is it the way that you want it to be? Right. As you mentioned, like it has to feel natural to you. And some of these suggestions that I threw out there, sending out gifts, that I didn't start that way. But what I started out with was my email communication. And just in the bottom of some of the status emails that I had, I said, hey, look, this has been great. I love this portion that we've just accomplished and we launched to the website. If you by chance have heard of anybody that has a similar problem, let me know. I'd love an introduction, right? And just having these little kind of cues, even in your email, also will help you stand out because look, and we talked a little bit about the word of mouth thing, but those word of mouth, experiences help in a way that make you stand out too, because people are like, oh, well, I didn't know he, was looking for more people. Like clients really think that we don't work with anybody else. They're the only client, right? And so you have to kind of prompt them in a way that does it for you, right? And allows them to yeah, well, it gives them permission to share your name with other people. But also the other aspect to doing it is think about injecting your personality into it, right? Like people come to you because they like you, right? Like, look, I write PHP code, I write JavaScript, right? Like there's a bajillion people out there. And yes, that's a technical term. The bajillion people out there, exact same stuff. But they're my clients because, well, I resonate with them. We jive together. There's a personality mesh, right? Like Curtis McHale, he told me a long time ago that on sales calls, if they don't laugh 3 times, he doesn't work with them.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So that has nothing to do with anything, right? And so like that has nothing to do with technical skill set or anything of that nature, or budget or timelines or anything like that. But it's an important part of the sales process that I look at my own. Like we need to if we're going to have a long-standing good relationship and have very successful project and get to where we want to get to, well, our personalities kind of have to mesh a little bit too, right? Like I'm a solo owned business, right? I have people that we would have been very successful with, but they wanted to work with an agency. But then on the flip side, I have people that want to work with me because I am not an agency. And so inject that stuff. Like for a long time, I used the royal we on my website when it was just me, right? But once I started saying I and me and, it's just me, and I injected my own self into it, well, that really turned a corner for me in my business in a way that I had not expected. And so just inject your own personality, just be a human. I mean, that's all we are, is humans. And if you do that, you'll see a huge impact in just standing out.
Yeah, we've talked to plenty of folks that they're, solopreneur type folks where they're running the show themselves and that's it. And I think for a lot of us, growing up, we've always looked at these like large companies as the things that actually make things happen, not realizing that the smaller companies are also able to do good, if not better work. And so that royal we thing comes from, I want to show that there's more than just myself. And sometimes it is more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you farm out, maybe you're not a great graphic designer and you farm out the graphic design stuff. Maybe you're not a great photographer and you farm out the photography stuff. Maybe you're not a great whatever and you farm, or maybe you're not great any of that stuff, and you're just a great business person and you can bring in all the people that you need to knock out the job.
Yeah.
So, that royal we thing, it's like when people name their companies like blah, blah, blah partners or blah, 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 they add that extra kind of like grouping piece to it. That's old school. I mean, nowadays, when people talk about being on brand for yourself, just be yourself. You are the brand. You don't have to put on a whole extra thing. Like, just be a brand. It's funny. My wife was posting on Instagram recently where she was saying, like, I just post me. I'm not posting my highlight reel. Like, oh, everybody else is posting their highlight reel. Like, here's me with like a jacked up face right now going brr, like this. It's literally her face was like this, like brr, really weird, whatever.
I love her.
And she's just like, I just post what I post. That's it.
Yeah.
And if that's you, then be that.
Right.
We have plenty of those types of people in our WordPress community that are themselves, and you don't know it until you get them on a show like this because their website doesn't represent that.
Yeah.
And I love looking on your site. It's just like one thing after another on here where it's like, yeah, this is him. Yep, this is him. Now that I've talked to you, I haven't met you yet, but talked to you over the internet twice now, looking at this and saying like, wow, like he actually put a lot of time, energy, and effort into his own site. And the cobbler's kids actually got some shoes at some point here,
I have lots of shoes. Like, this is one of my favorite things about Res. Now we're going to talk about you while you're still standing there. Is that everything is totally on brand all the time. Fonts, colors, everything. I think you're the one who told me about Headliner, right? Right, Res? I love, even on Instagram, there's this little like blurb. It's like, you see the little, like, there's a part of the pot, everything like that is so spot on. It's so cool because, it's easy to just, and I that was the advice, Jason, that we should always look bigger. But I'm like, I really thought about upcharging my blogging and then having somebody else do it. But I'm like, no, they want Bridget Willard to do it because Bridget Willard's in the WordPress space and Bridget Willard knows how to do it. So just stop complaining about it. Well, I have one Magento client, but whatever. Still software extensions, plugins, whatever.
Sure, whatever.
It's all the same. It's not, it's a product on the internet you download and put on your website.
Right.
But CMS, PHP, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this is our mark to introduce our sponsor for the tool or tip of the week. So the tool or tip of the week this week is brought to you by Vendor Fuel. Vendor Fuel is a next generation shopping cart plugin that will ignite your e-commerce. Built using AngularJS, Vendor Fuel lets you keep your customers on your website for the entire checkout experience. Start a 90-day free trial now and ignite your e-commerce at vendorfuel.com. That's vendorfuel.com. My tool or tip of the week is Tiny Habits by Sir Jonathan Wold. He gave this to me. I have a signed copy.
What? Wait, the guy's been on my show and you get one of these things? What the heck? Jonathan, come on, dude.
I know, right? You can buy it on the internet, but I love this because
I could buy it. Here's my affiliate link.
No, I don't have an affiliate link, but it's gonna get posted. I'm already sending it out. It's scheduled. But I love this because it's, first of all, I'm not a big reader. Like I just finished What Adam Smith Can Teach You About Your Life, or How Adam Smith Can Change Your Life, which is really awesome. It took me a year to read it because I'm just a slow reader. And I spend all day reading the internet. But this book is really small. It's a tiny book with tiny habits. It starts out with about like, what's a tiny habit? Why did he do it? He started with push-ups. He's like, well, I'm just going to start with push-ups. And why am I doing this? Like N+1. And my friend Barbara from WP and Up just posted about this, which is what reminded me. And I love that, like, do something, right? So today you did 0 push-ups. Today do 1 push-up. Tomorrow do 2. Tomorrow, the next day do 3, N+1, So, or you could do 4 sets of 1. And then just keep progressing because something is better than nothing. And then as you develop these habits, you have a more manageable life or whatever like that. Like, we're always expecting a tool to help us. And it's not necessarily a tool. And I just read this article this week from the New York Times. It's like, it's not the notifications, it's you wanting to check the notifications. We are allowing the computers to control us, but the key word there is allowing. So if you want to have a good habit of reading, then put it in your calendar and do it. If you want to have a good habit of blogging, then put it in your calendar and do it. But whatever works is what works for you. And that's what I like about it. Like, did I start doing push-ups? No. Okay. I started doing kickboxing training and I started doing my, what are those called? Planks from yoga, but I got out of it because I couldn't exercise, blah, blah, blah. But now I can start again. And it's so good because you feel good just doing one thing. Check it off your list. That's why I like the cover. Just check it off. You did it, and even when I feel bad, like, oh, I only walked 2 miles today or something, my friends will go, you walked 2 miles more than I did. And I'm like, oh, it's 2 miles more than you did yesterday. And I'm like, that's true, So I think it's just a good reminder. It's a cute little book. And I like Jonathan. He's a sweetheart. So there you go.
Good stuff. What about you, Jason? What do you got?
My tool of the week is Bonjoro. It's this app that you can download on your phone. You tie it into you could tie it into anything, but most people tie it into their email marketing platform. And what it does is allows you to send personalized videos based on a certain tag or an event or something of that nature where, let's say somebody opts into your website or fills out your project brief before they become a client, or they sign that contract and become a client. you can then go ahead and send these personalized videos via email, because what it does is when you sync it up, it shoots to the app their email address and some information about what it is, their name, whatever you define in there. And then it sends you a notification, to your point earlier, but pings you on your phone that says, hey, you have this to do. But what it does is it creates that micro moment, right? Like there are so many replies that I get. First of all, this thing blows email marketing out of the water. Like email marketing on average, you get like a 20 to 25% open rate.
And you're happy with it.
Right. And you're happy with it. This is like 85 plus.
Can you spell it for us?
BONJORO. And what people respond back, they say, how did you automate this? Well, didn't you just hear? I said your name. I said your website. Like, no way you can automate this sort of thing, right? And
thank you for buying X product, like the whole thing, right?
Exactly. But what it is it creates that micro moment in that person, and they're like, hey, this is awesome. Like, I've never gotten one of these things before. And this is, 10, 15, 30 seconds, however long you want to make it. But it's a really nice way in which to create that micro moment. To piggyback off of that, I did that on Instagram for anybody that followed me for a month. And because Instagram has all that tech built in.
Did
right?
you do that on a DM?
Yeah.
Basically. And people were okay with that?
They loved it. Like there was these people, like I've followed people before and they've never gotten a personalized video back on that. Like, because
it's personalized.
Yeah, because I said, hey, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. If there's anything I could do, let me know. And like,
that's cool.
And people were like,
hello, _first name _. How are you doing today?
Well, I mean, obviously, if it was a bot, I didn't
right.
You could tell, but for human, okay, yeah, I could spend 10 seconds and throw this together. And I was just trying to trying to create that personal moment. And I've created long-standing, and that was a year ago, and I've created long-standing relationships with those people, and because it's that personalized touch that you add in there. And it's not just this robot behavior of, hey, I followed you and now I'll watch your thing, feed for a little bit. But with Bonjoro, it's like, I've worked it into the ecosystem of my business now where, I enjoy doing those things. I have time set aside every day to shoot them off and, spend 5 to 10 minutes doing that. It impacts somebody else's day that in a way where, it's unexpected and it's an unexpected surprise. And, it's a nice little thing to add in.
Good tool for the nature of our show standing out.
Absolutely.
Jason, what's yours?
Well, I was thinking a little bit about this, and I don't have anything. I don't think I have anything in particular to show just yet, because of the fact that we have a new version of iOS operating system coming out. But I love the Shortcuts app, and I don't know if you've actually used the Shortcuts app, but Shortcuts is something that'll be built into iOS 13 when it comes out. Right now, iOS 12, which is the one that you probably have installed on your phone, unless you have one of those notifications sitting there saying like, hey, you're on iOS 8. You should probably update your phone. Hopefully you're not that far back. But Shortcuts is absolutely amazing. And what I love about it is I can set up a bunch of different little small things to happen on my phone and have them blast them out. So for instance, I have it so that, and this is on the iOS 13, so the latest and greatest when it comes out in September, but I walk up to my house and all my lights start turning on. And my phone goes and says, you're home. And then it goes and updates some stuff in a Google Sheet and says, Jason's home. And updates, I have it update all these different things all in one little thing of just showing up at home.
You have a spreadsheet to keep track of when you go home? I have a
spreadsheet that keeps track of when I'm home and when I'm at work and when I actually drive for Lyft. And it automatically just does it. I don't have to think about anything. It just does it.
Do you refer back to it? Is this like...
I refer back to it all
where
the time.
were you on October 17th? I will
Yep.
give you the spreadsheet, officer.
Yep. That is exactly why.
Because you might be a suspect in a murder one day.
No, but just because it's
You
one of those
can.
things, it's because you can. Yeah, it's because
That's
you can.
adorable.
But shortcuts is just, it is so cool, the types of stuff that you can do with it. And if you're someone who uses
I've been doing that for your kid to keep track of where she is.
right, exactly. So if you're someone who uses Reddit, or if you've never been on Reddit before, I would highly recommend going over to reddit.com/r/shortcuts. And this place will show you all these little recipes for shortcuts that you can do using the shortcut app. So for instance, if you wanted to have it so that you have a photo and you want the photo to be, take the last 2 photos that you took and put them together, like next to each other, you just run this little thing and it goes, grabs the last 2 photos, boom, puts them together, and you're done. That's it. Automatically did it. Didn't have to do anything special. I wrote one that it takes a picture of the front and takes a picture of the back and then puts them together. And then I use those and upload those online with it. So there's all these cool little fun things that you can do with it. And if you haven't played with it, you should definitely play with it. It is really stinking cool. I love it. I'll show you how this one that works when you take a photo in the front and the back. So I'm gonna quickly do this so you can see what it does. So you run this little action, and then it's gonna go and spit out the image here. And when I go and save
live demos.
Yeah, I love live demos. Live demos are the best. So what ends up happening is, and I'll show you my phone here in just a moment as it shows up here, but I have all these different ones that are in here, and it's just like a big list of different little recipes that you can kick off, and it'll tell you, it'll show you like what that photo looks like. So here's that photo. So there's a photo of me in the corner, and then there's a photo of us.
Wow.
And it'll even show you like there's a photo of me and there's the photo that I took.
Oh, cool.
So it automatically just did all of that. Just by running one little command, and it just does it. So this is something that you have to download shortcuts and install it on your phone, but it's made by Apple, and there's just so many cool little things that you can do with it. So I would highly recommend going over to that subreddit that I was talking about, and kind of just do a quick little deep dive in there and start playing around with some of the things that you can do with it, because there's definitely some very interesting things that you're going to be able to do that will most likely help you out with you or your business.
Awesome. Yeah, I downloaded shortcuts a long time ago and I never did anything with it. I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So I'm going to go check out that subreddit.
check out that subreddit. There's really, really, really interesting things that you can do with it. I'll give you a couple of examples real fast, just so I'm not like going, oh yeah, here's something fun, but doesn't really tell you anything. So for instance, it'll tell you, let's see here. It'll tell me if what the weather's like outside. But not just like what the weather's like outside at home. It'll tell me where I'm at currently, what the weather's like outside. Or I could have it download a YouTube video. Like you just tell it the YouTube address and say, download it, and it'll download the video and put it into your photos. I can have it where it will actually say the weather report out loud. I have another one that actually updates my wallpaper every day on my phone.
That's cool.
So every day on my phone, it goes and downloads a wallpaper and says, oh, here's the latest and greatest stuff that's going on. There's a bunch of really, really interesting things that are in here. So go take a look at it, play with it. I'll share some of the links maybe on Twitter so you guys can take a look at some of the cool things that you can do with it.
Awesome.
Well, that's about it, Bridget.
Yep.
That's about it. I want to say thank you very much for Jason Resnick for helping us out. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show and hanging out with us. You're more than welcome to come back, and I'd love to come on your show at some point. So thank you for two-timer coming to both of my shows. So I really appreciate that. I want to say thank you very much for folks in our chat room for hanging out with us and talking. If you like this content or any of the stuff that we're doing on here, click the share button. There's a share button on every single network that you're looking at. There's some place on there you can click on the link and share it. And if you don't want to watch us and you just want to listen to us, there's a way to do that too. We're an audio podcast. Pretty much wherever a great audio podcast can be found. So thank you very much. Go over to our website, WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.